to watch out about the scientists because he said no to the NASA plan when he found out what it was.
What is it?
It's a breakaway civilization where you don't try to run the whole planet. You siphon off resources and build a whole new advanced system, and then you play everybody off against each other and collapse it. So when I say, what is NASA? If we could take NASA back over, it's bigger than the CIA. It's the real government. The spaceships and the stuff, that's all PR.
NASA is the real government?
NASA, there were 2 breakaway governments, 2 shadow governments. I talked about shadow government 20 years ago. So it's in the documents. And so you had one that was British run, and the Germans came to our own U.S. elites and said, hey, you always need a couple plans. They said, we've got all this on the drawing board. The EU, a plan to poison the food and water to get rid of the dumb people, a plan for off-world bases. We've got, by the way, we're taking hardcore drugs and we're in contact with aliens. They're giving us technology. It was the Germans first got in touch.
Well, how'd they do it?
They were really into the occult.
Drugs.
Yeah, really into the cult. That's what all the Indiana Jones shit is about.
He had like witches and shit around him at all times.
Yeah, human sacrifices.
Did you know that?
No,
that's real shit.
Yeah.
The Vril Society, VRIL.
What I'm telling you, Joe, this is not me. You go to the real deep PhD level history books.
Okay.
NASA is the German breakaway government because it's always the Germans and the Brits fighting for dominance. Okay.
So what you're saying is when Operation Paperclip acquired all those Nazi scientists, they essentially started running NASA. So NASA became like almost like an offshoot of the German government, this offshoot government?
Yeah, the Germans had piled all the wealth away. They had everything, so they made deals.
Does that really make sense, though, that in 2019 that's still going on?
No. The British intelligence doesn't run the CIA today. The British Empire was under attack and just bankrupted itself in World War I. It said, we'll give you the keys of the kingdom. Churchill wrote 3 books, this history of the English-speaking peoples. He was half American. And this is officially in books. We merged with the British Empire in like 1930, covertly. Okay, that's what the CFR is British intelligence and U.S. intelligence. So the U.S. runs the show. Okay, so you've got, but German intelligence came to Eisenhower and said, listen, you don't need to do all this. We haven't given them the real technology. We're in contact with aliens. And they've given us the whole plan.
Now, where are you getting this from that you're stating it so confidently?
It's in the literature, man. Hitler would go.
What literature?
Mainline historical books about
mainstream
SS castles where they go, the aliens want blood, so they'd kill like 20 kids and everything. So the aliens would like come in the deal.
Aliens are eating blood?
They brings them in like sharks. And then they would like give them technology. They go, this is how it works. You build the atomic weapons this way. You build it, and they would like show them bombers, and like the aliens are like telepathic. I don't even believe this. This is what the Nazis believe. And the aliens would mind meld and give them the technology. They're bad aliens.
So
are you surprised the Nazis were influenced by demons?
No, if demons are real, I would definitely think they'd be on the side of the Nazis.
Yeah. But Joe, what I'm telling you is
think aliens
there'll
are
be
demons?
no media is going to attack this.
I want to know where I can read it. Where can I read that? Those statements that they were in contact with the aliens.
Well, obviously your podcast
Look
is giant.
up Nazi Vril Society, VRIL
If
Society.
you let me put
he had a
report-
group of chicks,
That's
aliens? That's
they
aliens?
were like right up there with them, like doing
And I don't have to
rituals.
come over for 3 hours. If I can fly here with a report the day before, I'll send it all to you with mainline books. I'll mail the books with tabs in them.
Okay.
And I'll mail documents.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Listen, I think that they absolutely were obsessed with the occult. That's been pretty well documented.
They made flying saucers.
Yeah, and I think many governments.
They developed a more advanced form of nuclear fuel, heavy water. And we had to send in special forces on suicide missions, back when it was really special forces, to blow it up. And I'm telling you, the Germans had all sorts of advanced shit. They just couldn't ever keep the plants from getting blown up because they were a few years behind.
Yeah.
And by the way, Churchill wrote about this in his memoirs and said the Germans were way ahead. It wasn't the Germans were bad. The Nazis were bad, but it wasn't the Germans that first bombed civilian targets. In 1941, the Brits were losing the war. Hitler was bombing their medical facilities and military facilities, and so they went and bombed German towns and German cities like. What's the famous German city? Dresden, where it was designated a safe city for kids. 500,000 people died in one night to trick Hitler to turn his bombers on the general population. And they tricked him psychologically to do it. But Churchill, This has been declassified. It's in esoteric books. It's admitted.
So Hitler was set up?
Well, Hitler was bad, but here's what happened. Albert Speer was his chief armaments and architects minister and a British double agent. Rudolf Hess was the deputy Fuhrer, the guy Hitler totally loved, but you never hear about him since 1941 because they had a peace treaty with Edward VIII, who was the King of England, who was a Nazi and who was German. British family was German. And they had a deal to stage the attack. The French stood down. Vichy French didn't fight. They put Nazi occupiers in. The Dunkirk operation was allowed to evacuate. Edward VIII was supposed to then sue for peace through Neville Chamberlain. But it's come out that it was all set up by Churchill and others. Not that they ran Hitler. Not that they weren't bad. They were pretty good. But they master manipulated him and Neville Chamberlain and all of them and bet on the British people in America to come in. They had deals with Roosevelt to then bring us into the war, and that was the whole master plan. And you can actually go to the history and see all that, and that's what's so incredible, Joe. When you have all this info, and so Rudolf Hess in 1941-42, he flies a one-man bomber. He was a World War I fighter ace, like the number 3 ace, like 100-something aircraft. Look it up, Rudolf Hess. He flies in, parachutes into the castle the king was in at the time, in like northern England, I forget the name of it. He parachutes in with the peace treaty signed by the King of England. They lock him up in the tower for the rest of his life in London. And Edward VIII had to advocate. Type in Edward VIII Hitler, and you'll see him in videos, films, and photos. He was in Spain when World War II started.
Where do you think the contact with the aliens came from? When did that start?
All right, this is the most important thing we're going to cover.
Not aliens, like
No, hold on. Hold on.
Interdimensional aliens?
Alien means anything not of this world.
When did that happen?
That ice
Get that
orange.
motherfucking vodka loose.
No, I don't. Fake vodka looks like
It's fake. I need to hear about aliens.
I'm going to take a pull with that cigar, but I don't smoke marijuana.
Yeah, that's
We don't
a cigar.
smoke marijuana, and we
You know
still
what's crazy
This is
about
just a cigar.
You know what's crazy about aliens is that YouTube made a big announcement that they're gonna go after 9/11 videos. Anything? I don't know if this is true.
No, it's
I
true.
don't know, but is it true that they're demonetizing any videos that have truth or liberty in them?
Yes.
Is that true?
Yes, but let me go
I don't
further.
know if that's true, but I heard that.
well,
and that sounds crazy.
me and
but
Joe
the crazy
have had
thing,
some
hold on,
interesting
hold
off-record
on.
discussions, but
Hold on,
we-
let me finish real quick. It's crazy how they're going after 9/11, miracle cures.
I already know.
flat
I learned
Earth,
5 years
but
ago.
they're blowing up alien videos.
Let me tell you,
they're blowing
my
them
wife
the
is
fuck
wonderful
up.
and
Those
she's
are the
sweet.
strongest
Well, hold on.
monetized videos out there.
I don't know about that.
No,
Is
no,
that
that's- it's true.
The
It's
strongest
true.
monetized
Dude.
idiot?
It is.
Well, there's a lot of videos out there.
they're
They're getting the
Little-
best deals.
Little
They have
kids
the
with
best sponsors.
toys.
They have the top of the line sponsors.
there's-
No, I'll tell you when Eddie's right. I actually know the numbers.
They're blowing up alien videos
There's
right
a
now.
little kid who makes $22 million a year reviewing toys.
No.
That's like the number one. Isn't he like one of the number one guys on YouTube? He's like 8.
I'm saying
Little kid.
alien videos get monetized
They're
by
fun.
high level
You know why?
sponsors, the high level ones.
Because
That's what I meant.
Okay,
they're
but a lot of people
non-offensive.
understand something.
They're non-offensive. People get drawn into them.
But they're saying that the government's
they're
covering this
effective.
up. Why ain't they shutting that shit down?
'Cause
They're
it's-
talking about that the government is lying and
Because it's
covering
funny.
it up.
Because it's funny.
Dude, but it's
But
hysterical.
tell me,
You're right. It is.
How did the connection with aliens start? You said this is the most important thing you discuss on the podcast.
And Eddie, I love you to death, and you're awesome. That's why I asked for you to be here.
Hey, if you want to believe in aliens, I'm cool with that. I still love you. I don't care. I don't care about that.
Listen, this is not what I believe, okay?
I love you for who you
I
are.
love you too. I'm trying to tell you something. Listen, man, let me tell you something.
Okay.
I'm not making this stuff up.
I believe you believe it.
No, I mean, the stuff I told you earlier about my dad at the table being offered $500,000 in 1986
I believe
to
that.
build cyborgs in
believe that.
Maryland.
No, he wasn't here for that part.
Okay.
He came in later. But
Okay.
tell me how the connection with aliens got started.
With who? Connection, aliens, and
The
who?
Nazis,
Sure.
when people started becoming obsessed with contact with the aliens,
Yeah.
he was saying the Nazis
1947, Roswell.
developed some sort of a connection.
You know, Eddie's right. They flood YouTube and mainstream media. Like they always thought it was safe. I talked about the private Federal Reserve, the New World Order, if I went on some big show, as long as they mixed aliens in with it. And I was
Right.
never the alien guy. Right? I've never been the big alien guy.
Never.
Right.
So I was on
Never.
2 years ago with you.
Right.
And you know what? That's right. I remember when I was balls deep in aliens, because I believed all that shit. I believe it used to be that you'd be a conspiracy theorist if you believed in aliens. But not anymore. Now, if you believe in aliens,
Eddie, this
you're
is
not
real.
a conspiracy.
This